I'm going to be reading from this book called Hind's Feet on High Places. It's by Hannah Hernard. And if you haven't read it, I would highly recommend it. It is such a great story for new believers, women who've been walking with the Lord for a while, and even the ones that are seasoned women walking with the Lord. It really ministered to my heart, and so I'm going to read a little excerpt from it. Much afraid, paused on the bridge and looked back over the way they had come. The valley looked very green and peaceful, while the mountain to whose foot they had come towered above them like gigantic and threatening ramparts. Far away in the distance, she could see the trees growing around the village of Much Trembling. And with a great and sudden pang, she pictured the shepherd's helpers going about their happy work, the flocks wandering over their pastures, and the peaceful little white cottage in which she had lived. All these scenes rose before her. Tears began to prick in her eyes, and the thorn pricked in her heart. But almost at once she turned to the shepherd and said thankfully, "I will trust you and do whatever you want." In a very short time, they were over the bridge and had come to the foot of the mountains, where the path began the ascent of the lower slopes. Here, great boulders were scattered all around, and suddenly, much afraid, saw the figures of two veiled women seated on one of the rocks at the side of the path. As the shepherd and she came up to that place, the two rose and bowed silently to him. "Here are the two guides which I promised," said the shepherd quietly. "From now on until you are over the steep and difficult places, they will be your companions and helpers." Much afraid, looked at them fearfully. Certainly they were tall and appeared very strong. But why were they veiled? For what reason did they hide their faces? The longer and closer she looked at them, the more she began to dread them. They were so silent, so strong, so mysterious. Why did they not speak? Why give her no friendly word of greeting? "Who are they?" she whispered to the shepherd. "Will you tell me their names and why they don't speak to me? Are they dumb?" "No, they are not dumb," said the shepherd very quietly, "but they speak a new language, Much afraid, a dialect of the mountains, which you have not learned. But as you travel with them, little by little, you will learn to understand their words. They are good teachers indeed. I have few better. As for their names, I will tell them to you in their own language, and later you will learn what they are called in their own tongue." This, as he motioned forward to the first of the silent figures, is Sorrow, and the other is her twin sister, Suffering. Poor Much Afraid, her cheeks blanched, and she began to tremble from head to foot. She felt like fainting, that she clung to the shepherd for support. "I can't go with them," she grasped. I can't. Oh, my Lord Shepherd, why do you do this to me? How can I travel in their company? It is more than I can bear. You tell me that the mountain's way itself is so steep and difficult that I cannot climb it alone. Then why, oh why, must you make Sorrow and Suffering my companions? Couldn't you have given me joy and peace to go with me, to strengthen me, encourage me, and help me on this difficult way? I never thought you would do this to me." And she burst into tears. A strange look over the shepherd's face as he listened to this outburst. Then, looking at the veiled figures as he spoke, he answered very gently, "Joy and peace. Are those the companions you would choose for yourself? You remember, you promised to accept the helpers that I would give because you believe I would choose the very best possible guides for you. Will you trust me, much afraid? Will you go with them, or do you wish to return back to the valley and to all your fearing relatives, to craven fear himself? Much afraid, shattered, the choice seemed terrible. Fear she knew only too well, but sorrow and suffering had always seemed to her the two most terrifying things which she could encounter. How could she go with them and abandon herself to their power and control? It was impossible. Then she looked at the shepherd and suddenly knew she could not doubt him, could not possibly turn back from following him, that if she were unfit and unable to love anyone else in the world, yet in her trembling, miserable little heart, she did love him. Even if he asked the impossible, she could not refuse him. She looked at him pathetically, then said, "Do I wish to turn back? O shepherd, to whom should I go? In all the world I have no one but you. Help me to follow you, even though it seems impossible. Help me to trust you as much as I long to love you." I chose this because, like I said, it ministered to my heart. And back in January, when we all look at a brand new year and think to ourselves, new beginnings, new things, Lord, how are you going to use me this year? I was one of those ones, and I said, Lord, I'm your servant. I'm here. What do you want me to do? And he kind of put it on my heart to talk with Yvonne. He said, Yvonne needs some help. So I called Yvonne. At the same time, she said she was going to call me. So we were kind of on the same page there. And she said that she would like some help with the B series. Well, I think to myself, I'm better behind the scenes. Well, she had a different idea, and she wanted me to do this reading. And after I got off the phone, I immediately, like Miss Much Afraid, said, I can't. And I think rigor mortis set in at that point in time, and I was just stopped. So I call my companion, Leslie, to talk me off the wall, to tell me that I can do it, that she has faith in me, and that, Teri, you were chosen. Do you want to miss out on this blessing that the Lord has given to you, an opportunity to speak to the women? Well, as soon as she said that to me, my heart changed. And I went from, I can't, to, okay, Lord, I surrender. I will do this. Even though it's not what I want to do, by all means, ladies, I am terrified being up here. But surrendering to the Lord means more to me than anything else. And so I have to completely empty myself to get up here, knowing that the Lord is speaking. It's not me, it's the Lord. And I give him all the praise and all the honor. And if any of this can help you in any way to take over some of that fear or much afraid has, I hope it ministers to your heart. And thank you for listening.